So today I come at you at a presentation about free will, and this is a beautiful presentation by James Hilton. So when we talk about free will, what is free will, and do we always have it? Many people believe that we have it, and they believe that we utilize free will in our day-to-day lives and everything that we do, such as movement and every thought, every action. Um, and free will can be described as in the textbook, Philosophy Through Film, and that an action is free if the actor. Oh, of course, that happens while I'm presenting. Okay, you said for this to be original, so it's going to be original. An action is free if the actor could have chosen otherwise. So, our actions tend to reflect our choices in many ways. We can think about this as an example. A good example would be touching a stove. Now, you touch a stove, and you already know, as adults, we already know, and we have an understanding that the stove is hot, and that if we touch it, it is going to burn us. Now, if we did touch the stove and we knew the repercussions, we could have chosen otherwise. Then we used our free will and we decided to touch the stove. Free will, I believe, can only be utilized as thought. Anything past that can be considered not to be free will because it happens because of prior occurrences. Now, a perfect example of this is through the movie, which is Beautiful Boy. Now you look here, title, we got those guys, and these are actually the real people in the movie, and that would be Nick right here, the addict in the movie. And Beautiful Boy, starring Timothy Chalamet and Steve Carell, was released in 2019, and it's a perfect example of free will when referring to the drug abuse that Nick endures through it within the film. Nick is given help and guidance, even makes a recovery from his addiction, but eventually relapses, and I will get further into that. Um, in my own opinion, humans do not have free will in their own decisions, and they're solely based on past decisions and actions, with many people agree. And as well, looking through, we also talked about this in class through the slideshow, um, that many people do agree with that statement, and many people do not. There's many people who do not agree with that statement. So I do believe that free will is only made during the first decision and action within specific context. So your thought goes into it, and then whatever proceeds after that is not free will because of the first decision that you made. First decision for a specific context could be anything. For like example was the stove. You thought about it, and then anything that came after it was not free will. It was, you didn't choose to get burned, but you did it because of prior occurrences. And another one could be is driving a car. And driving a car, if a good example is a car accident, it was when we crash our car, there's a possibility that, well, not possibility, but you choose to drive, you choose to get into your vehicle and you choose to drive. And whatever happens during that occurrence is not your free will. You did not choose to crash your car, but it happened to. No one chooses to crash their car unless they have, heinous intent or any sort of thing. But day to day, when you drive your car, you're not intending to crash your car. Um, Now, I would say that free will, when it comes to thoughts and having the ability to think freely, is for sure an aspect of free will, but I believe that to be the only limitation is your thought, which I have been talking about. When referring to the movie, we can use the proposition of determinism. And determinism is which an event, decisions, and action is casually determined by an unbroken chain of prior occurrences. So Nick's prior occurrences do not revolve around having a broken family, as we might think. Like when we think about prior occurrences, we might think about past strife and past problems that we've endured throughout our life. But the thing is that Nick grew up in a very supportive family, and he grew up having loving parents and people that cared about him and wanted to see him succeed and helped him succeed. It's only when Nick chose was his first choice when regarding the drugs was to try it. And I would agree that the prior occurrences that led to Nick and his struggle was the introduction to drugs, and this dragged him down a path of his destruction and everything that he's been through. It was never Nick's intention to get addicted, but because of his free will to try them, and then in the beginning, it led to Nick choosing to continue gradually and develop his addiction. A good reference and philosopher that we could use is Thomas Hobbes. If you look at this man right here, he is one ugly guy. That's not a very flattering picture, but quoted by Hobbes was, "A free agent is he that can do as he will and forbear as he will, and that liberty is the absence of external impediments." So there's no underlying factors, there's nothing. People could have liberty, and that liberty meaning free will, if there were no obstructions and no problems along the way. Now that can be related to Nick because he had a lot of obstacles through his addiction and through his problems, and he ended up, like, throughout his addiction was not able to have that free will. His first decisions took over, and that's where he came out. And that concludes my presentation, and I hope this video does some sort of good. I'm trying my best here.